Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network.
What we saw today was a story that I've heard for a decade that is complete garbage. And finally, the facts are coming out and the cases are falling apart like a domino, one at a time.
And you got Alina Habba going on TV going, well, he's in court in all of these, liberal venues and blue venues. Well, stop breaking laws in blue states. I mean, That's what bothers. We know that. I mean, we know why it's in New York. It's not because we decided to put him there. He broke the law in the state of New York. Just like if they were actually doing their job in Florida, the other case would be in Florida, if it wasn't canon. It's just bothersome that people aren't calling out those lies live on television saying, hey, this isn't some sort of a liberal, conspiracy. This isn't a Biden administration. Push back in live time.
And I'm always torn between not wanting to cave to the bullies, Dana, and this. Experts on extremism say the constant repetition of threatening or menacing language can normalize the idea of violence and increase the risk of someone actually carrying it out. One of the experts said the violence against judges, supporters calling for violence against the judges to the Capitol rioters, that's obviously, we've already seen it. It's already happened, him inspiring violence, right? This is just the 2023-24 iteration of that phenomenon, the January 6th. Articulating these ideas is the first step along the pathway to mobilizing to violence. Merchan needs to be strangled with piano wire, one poster wrote yesterday. He deserves garroting in the street. In pro-Trump forums, when someone pushes the norm of what's considered acceptable speech by posting a call to execute judges or other public officials and no one questions it, then the norm of what's acceptable may shift, said this expert. In response to an article criticizing a far-left judge, Merchan, they referred to a photo of the jurist by saying a face only a fist could love. The next poster said, or a steel-toed boot. The next one said, or an aluminum bat. Another poster said, Colt Combat Commander 45.
Wow.
So it's right. This is exactly.
I don't understand why they can't do charges in situations like that. When you had that young girl, and I know she got in way over her head, and I think it was in California when she said that all of the politicians she wants to see in a guillotine is in. And I don't know if I'm remembering that correctly, but she was charged in court. Like, what's the difference between that and someone saying that these judges should be executed? It's the same thing.
And by the way, we were
forum where you're making these comments.
We were saying the person that was going to kill Nancy Pelosi and attack Paul Pelosi, I hope he gets the full 40 years because he was absolutely directly incited by Donald Trump to go finish the job from January 6th. All the people chanting, "Where's Nancy?" that were threatening, and this. But the problem is, Trump jokes about it at his rallies. Oh, guess she didn't have a good security in her house. I mean, joking about an 80-year-old man almost being bludgeoned to death,
Well, because he's a sociopath.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that. He has absolutely no empathy in his entire body. He's a sociopath.
Yeah, but this is the problem. This entire party, Mitt Romney being one of the only example of people we sometimes think are, halfway decent. This shows you exactly how, just spineless this party is. So he hit fellow Republicans on going to the hush money trial, right? Mm-hmm. He said, I think it's really a little demeaning to show up in front of a courthouse, particularly where one is talking about an allegation of paying a porn star. He said it's a little embarrassing, really difficult to watch. There's a level of dignity and decorum that you expect from people who are running for the highest station in the land and going out and prostrating themselves in front of the public to try and apparently curry favor with the person who's our nominee. It's a little embarrassing. And then he said, I think that he would pardon Trump. Mm-hmm. He said, I think President Biden made an enormous error. He should have fought like crazy to keep this prosecution from going forward. It was a win-win for Donald Trump. He said if he were in Biden's shoes, he would have immediately pardoned. How are they the law and order party anymore? Right?
Well, Mitt Romney goes up to that thing where you're like, yeah, and then you're like, whoa. I mean, there's that picture of Mitt Romney having that dinner in the cave is because it looked like it was in a cave after Trump attacked him. And then all of a sudden he's sucking up to him. Like, he's not any better than some of these guys just right now because he can talk big. You know what? Go a step further. If you're saying you're not supporting Trump, you're not voting for Trump, say it. I'm going to vote for Biden.
Right. Yeah.
Say it.
We play a bit all the time at Romney Outrage Meter. I mean, he's always at the same level of my amuse-bouche was the wrong temperature at the country club. Right. Like there's no variation for treason or Lisa Murkowski also went after fellow members of her party. Who attended Trump's trial. He said, "Do we have something to do around here other than watch a stupid porn trial? I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, we talked to Dr. Redlener. Obviously Ukraine fighting for its life. This aid was delayed. But they've got time to go do this red tie clown show."
Of course they do, because it's the same clown in a different circus. It's just gross. I don't know what, like I said, I don't know what he has on these guys, but they seem to have something, because for you to sit there and defend and all in your suits and red ties so you look like daddy, it's just weird. It's weird.
Thank you. By the way, speaking of which, can we just stop saying the New York Times is a liberal paper in any way? The one thing we mentioned, I think, is Michael Cohen's testimony included text with New York Times correspondent Maggie Haberman that raised eyebrows. I mean, I remember Judith Miller being like the stenographer for the weapons of mass destruction lies in the New York Times, and I don't know the full whatever. It just seems like for access, Maggie Haberman. I'm not saying she hasn't done some good reporting, but it bugs me. I know, you make a weird sound.
She bugs me too, because she's sort of the Mitt Romney of journalism. She goes right to the line, but doesn't say too much so she doesn't lose access into Mar-a-Lago and Trump. Oh, but I'm going to hold them accountable. No, it's like, that's also gross to me too. You should be calling out fascism right now. If you're a journalist, do your job.
But that's stenography. You start writing and I'll get back to you. Like, here's our statement, so you'll get it first. But, how could it not have a slant that's toward Trump, if you're doing that for access or to get the story first or whatever? Anyway,
of course. Yeah.
Anyway, this I thought was good news. President Biden has exerted executive privilege to prevent the release of audio recordings of his interview with special counsel Robert Hur. Oh, good. Merrick Garland's made a good recommendation. Sorry, I won't say anything else. In a letter sent to James Comer and Jim Jordan, the White House argued there is no legitimate need for a recording of the interview to be released, and said such a recording would be used for political purposes because, of course, that's all they care about is what will hurt Joe Biden and what will help Trump get back in the White House. He said said the absence of a legitimate need for the audio recordings lays bare your likely goal to chop them up, distort them, use them for partisan political purposes. Demanding such sensitive and constitutionally protected law enforcement materials from the executive branch because you want to manipulate them for potential political gain is inappropriate. So good, right? I mean,
agreed.
It was so ridiculous that this thing even went forward. Right. This stupid.
They got to find something because their boy's in trouble, so they're going to go after anything they can, even if it's fake.
There it is, my first drink of the day, Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And Z-Biotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry if I have an extra glass of wine, I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/politicalvoices or scan the QR code on the screen right now.